it's Teresa again here. I'm just going to have a quick go at showing you how to make a flower arrangement. Now, you might be aware that the oasis that we've been using for donkey's years is not considered very environmentally friendly because it's not very good at biodegrading. So there's a number of us who are trying to find ways to make flower arrangements stay as beautiful as we can make them, but without using the Oasis. Now, I'm old enough to remember when we didn't use Oasis and we had several items that were created specifically for us to create a beautiful arrangement. So this is a rose bowl. Now, it's amazing. I got this in our local charity shop for about £3. And it's amazing because it's just so good and versatile. It's not terribly big, but it's a rose bowl, and you don't really expect a rose bowl to be that big, do you? Now, before I found that rose bowl, I had been using this, which I think looks just as good, but in order to create the grids, I had put some sellotape across the top so that it was in a crisscross and exactly the same as the rose bowl is. So I know which one I'd rather have, but actually the colour of this and the texture of this one, I prefer to the just plain. But you know, either of them will do. Now I'm going to start creating an arrangement in this bowl, which I absolutely love, and I bought again in a charity shop for a couple of pounds some time ago, and I've never used it. But I was thinking that I could be using that this time. And it goes my trusty sellotape dispenser, creating a crisscross design. So I'm going to split the, well, I would do if it let me, split the sellotape down the middle. All right, I won't. Okay, just to go across there. So put it across the top. So here we go, got one there. You might not be able to see it. Oh yeah, you can if I turn it around. And just keep going in crisscross. It's going to take me a little while to do it. So having shown you how to do it, I'll then use one of the other ones that were already created. I am folding the sellotape over so that it's not going to take up so much space on my arrangement. But can you see that I'll try and put it in from as many angles as possible. I think you can see there. But I think that will be really lovely for making my flower arrangements in the future. So I'll go back to the one that I didn't make but was made earlier, because it's got not just the one grid on the top, it's actually got a grid inside as well. So it means that when you're putting it down, you can fine down how you want it to remain, which is a really good thing. So I'm going to start by putting in, you guessed it, well, you got it, I'm going to put foliage in first, and the reason I do that is it's going to give me a sound base for the flowers to go into. I've got some Capressus, conifer, Lelandii, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. I'm going to cut it smaller. Now, I don't really want to have that bit on it because that will, first of all, clog up where I'm going to be putting things through, and second of all, will take away some of the nutrients that will be coming up through the plant from their capillaries. So, just going to be popping them in, taking the lower ones off, because they'll get in the way, they'll bleed all of the goodness out of the arrangement and also give it full of bacteria. So I'm just going to go around a few times with these. I appreciate the fact that you can't see what I'm doing, but there we go, I'm just starting it off. Okay, and then I'm going to move on to the, now Akuba. I don't think you saw this earlier on, but this is Aucuba. It's got some lovely big flat long leaves like the laurel, but it's variegated. So it's perfect for just popping in for a different pop of colour, um, which can make flower arrangements look much nicer. I'm going to keep putting things in, and I am going to add the cedar and the lavender and a bit of the cotoneaster, because that's going to give me a silvery blue hue, which will bring the changes. Okay, now I've been filling it in while you didn't even know I was gone, did you? I've started off by making it so that it comes out and trails down a bit like a skirt. And I did that all the way around the edge. And now I'm going around the inner side with some of the other flowers. But I think you'll agree, foliage, I mean, I think you'll agree it looks quite, you might think it looks a bit messy now actually, because I put several different types of flowers, foliage in there, but it's going to look really luscious when we get going with the flowers and the rest of the foliage. I did mean flowers that time. Right, so now what I'm going to do is probably start putting flowers in. So that's when you need to be watching me, so keep your eyes open. I have some beautiful white and green chrysanthemums here. They've clearly been smashed up while they were being delivered to the supermarket, and that's what you need to be careful about, because they're all a bit squashed. Now, I'm not going to use that whole head as it is. It's going to be too dense. So what I'm going to do is, of course, strip off all the outside foliage, because we've been through that before, haven't we? What we want is the water that comes up through the capillaries and the stems to go to the flowers, not the foliage. And because I'm being very careful about the line I'm making, I don't want it to control me, I want to control it. So I'm going to just snip that bit out. That's going to be quite nice. And I'm going to take that other one off, so I've only got 3, and I'm going to put it in the middle to give me a bit of guidance as to how tall I want it to be. I don't really want it to be any taller than that. Now, the general rule of thumb for flower arranging is that you create an arrangement that's 1.5 times the height of your bowl. In this particular bowl, it's not going to make any difference. You're not going to see the bowl, so it doesn't make any difference. So if you're making it with a vase or a different type of bowl or container, then that should govern you. But I know the rules, and I know that I can break them in this instance. So I'm just going around. She says not trying to get that out again. Yeah. And I think I can't get that both in, so I'm going to leave the bigger stem on the smaller flower. So I can put that in where I want it to go, rather than having to shove it in where it will go. So I'll continue putting those in just to create an outline shape for the colour. And then I'm going to use some red roses. Now, red and green are on the opposite sides of the colour wheel, so that means these are complementary colours. It doesn't mean that's a free pack of biscuits with a cup of tea. What it means is that they are so far apart on the the colour wheel or the colour spectrum that they will give each other a bit of a pop. One might almost think clashing, but it creates a luminosity that is very current in flower arranging, and it means that you can wow people with your choice of colours by choosing complementary colours. Right, I'll be back in a moment when I'm doing something else you need to see. Okay, it's at this point that I want someone to come in and redo my hair and my makeup, but you have to put up with me as I am. Now, what I've created, I think you'll agree, is a design that looks very natural, I've put in some of the ivy. When I'm making arrangements, I don't necessarily like them to all just sit so in a vase. So what I've made is a kind of collar for this particular bowl, and then you'll see that there is a circle of the chrysanthemums and then some strategically placed in the middle. Now, I'm just going to put some roses in now, and then I'll come back to you and let you see what it looks like with the roses and, of course, the lavender. Now, as you can see, I have a very natural looking arrangement that the colours that are different help make it. So I've got blue in the blue-grey cedar, and I've got that in the lavender as well. And then the different colours in the ivy and the cypressus and the laurel and grisselina and pittosporum. So I've actually used quite a bit, but I think you'll agree it looks quite a generous looking arrangement. Now, when you've done yours, don't try to ping yours up like this. Mine's only okay because I haven't put any water in it yet so that I could show you what I was doing. Now, some people might tell you that odd numbers are key in flower arranging, and that is the truth. It's a universally accepted truth. But if you get given 10 roses, what does the other one do? And have you helped it fulfill its destiny? My view is that if somebody is looking at my arrangement that I have carefully put movement, rhythm, juxtaposition, different textures, different colours, different styles in, then I've really not done what I set out to do, and that is to make people go, "Oh, that's lovely," or "Wow." If they're counting my roses, they just don't get me. Anyway, happy flower arranging.